So I'm Aubrey. And
Perfect.
Kathleen.
Perfect.
I'm the
I
atheist.
thought
She's the Christian.
I was gonna say, like, I was trying to match the voices to who I
Uh-huh.
thought that I was like, I know which voice is the atheist, and I know which
Yeah,
voice is the Christian.
100% of the proceeds gained from this monetized episode will be donated to sciencesaves.org. Thanks for listening.
Aubrey, Kathleen, thank you so much for joining me. For anybody listening, guests, anybody watching on YouTube, these ladies are the hosts of the Christian and the Atheist podcast. And I found you guys because I was recommended either on Spotify or Apple. It's been a minute, but I think it was Apple, as a podcast that I might like based on my listening, which it thinks I listen to Growing Up Fundy. I don't. I just check the stats. But I was stoked to see that people who frequented my podcast also listen to your podcast. I thought that was really, really cool, especially after listening to your podcast. I was like, I love this. I love that association. I thought, like, for once, the algorithms have really, really clicked.
Working for us.
Yeah.
Great. That's special.
Absolutely. And then I just decided I wanted to meet you. So I'll give you a chance to just kind of introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what your background is, and what you're here to talk about today.
Sure. Go ahead. Okay. So, like you said, we're the hosts of the Christian and the Atheist. I'm Kathleen. I'm the atheist. This is Aubrey. She's the Christian. We started this podcast a little over a year ago. We're friends in real life, and I grew up as a Mormon, and I'm obviously not anymore. I'm an atheist, and Aubrey is a practicing, believing Christian, and we just basically found it hard to not be friends with each other, given our not believing the same thing and our disagreements on certain issues, and
Well, it's like funny. So I'm the Christian. I grew up Christian. I stay Christian. I grew up in Trinity Church of the Nazarene, and then I have like little threads of, Baptist, Southern Baptist, Pentecostal, and it's it's been interesting. But now I am a non-denominational practicing Christian, and I call myself a progressive Christian. You're gonna see me at pride parades. You're going to see me with a pride flag. I don't know, I'm more liberal leaning, Black Lives Matter, stuff like that. And of course, it's funny to say that. And I live in Oklahoma, which is the reddest state in the country.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa. So we're both anomalies over here.
Yeah.
Are you both in Oklahoma?
Yes.
Wow.
And so it's interesting to have found each other, because I have heard about her for so long. Her kids are friends with my kids for like 3 years before she and I were buddies.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I have heard a lot about her, and
we knew of each other, but we weren't super close until COVID and 2020, and had nothing else to do but sit around and on her back porch and talk about religion.
Like, tell me everything. Because
here we are.
Being a Christian, to me, it's no longer strange, but it was strange, the idea of someone being a Christian and then fully leaving the faith. And I was like, and they're all in. They're all in. Like, no more. And I was like, excuse me? Please tell me how this works for you and how your life is fulfilled through this, because I was told it's not a fulfilling life to live, and you look fantastic. I'm
having a good time.
I'm amazed. Like, I adore who you are as a person, and the fact that Christianity has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's like wild.
Yeah.
And so she's helped me break a lot of the, like, what I expected an atheist to be like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, truly.
Yeah. I've learned a lot. So
as a former Christian myself, like, I remember what I thought an atheist was like and what I thought they looked like. And now I am one. And you're right. I get the exact same, like, but you're so, like, you look so happy. Like,
so
you're
wholesome.
not mean. Yeah. You're not full of hatred.
Yeah.
Right. I don't, funny. And on my end, I was reluctant to form a lot of a friendship with Aubrey because I knew that she was Christian, and I didn't want someone trying to get me to church or proselytizing me or
Right.
putting that
Yeah.
wall up once they realized like,
Right.
I'm not interested in that. And, and in the end, it didn't, that's not what happened.
Well, in her defense, I did ask her to come to church once.
but when I said no thanks, she was like, okay, cool.
I don't take it any further.
Yeah.
Like, I am not like, I'm a one and done girl, unless like, anyways, unless like, I don't know, there's like small chance that I'll ask you again. Small chance. But
Yeah.
like, even then, like, no means no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
So-
when a person legitimately asks me to come to church because they genuinely think I'll enjoy it, I'm flattered. I'm like, I
Yeah,
appreciate
I
it.
have no
That's nice.
issue.
It's
Good.
not how I want to spend my Sunday, but not because of you. Sounds like fun. I've been to church before.
Yeah.
And I've even had people ask me, like, don't you feel like a liar when you go to church with somebody without like telling them you're an atheist? And like, they invited me. They didn't say you're welcome to come unless you're an atheist. They just invited
Yeah.
me to come.
Yeah.
So then how old were you, Aubrey? Or no, I'm sorry. Aubrey is the Christian.
Yes.
Okay, for Kathleen then.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I get this right.
You're fine.
So
I should
Kathleen,
wear a cross necklace.
you should, or just like those
I
little
should
like
wear like,
those little name necklaces that were so popular from the
Yeah.
mall that are just like
Oh,
right
yeah.
Right.
there. So
Nice.
then were you already like a mom with kids when you decided you were an atheist? Were you a lot younger than that?
so I was born Mormon. My parents joined the Mormon church as converts before I was born. So I was raised in it my whole life, and we were very active. There was no missing Sundays. There was no missing Saturdays or Wednesday nights. I did early morning seminary Bible class before high school. I went to every activity, every dance, everything you can think of. I went to BYU, which is the
Oh, wow,
college
yeah.
owned by the Mormon church.
Yep.
My husband and I met through the Mormon church. He went on a 2-year
Wow.
mission. We met after that. We got married in the temple, and we
She was
did it.
drinking the Kool-Aid.
I
Yeah.
didn't taste coffee or tea until I was in my 30s. My first drink of alcohol was long after I was 30 years old. Was very much 100% believing, practicing anything you can think of that Mormons do. We did it.
Well, first of all, you're
Um,
older than me. I'm
I'm
shocked.
30. I'm 35.
Okay, I'm 31. I was gonna say, if you're
Yeah.
gonna say you were like 40 or something, I was gonna be shook.
No.
I was gonna be like shook to my core.
No, but yeah, my husband and I both, we had kids. We had we had 2 daughters, and I was pregnant with our third when, we just had a bunch of, like, he started, researching a lot of the history of the church and was finding things that didn't add up to what we had been taught growing up. And so we would come upon something that the church is now saying in 2013, hey, this is what we've always said. And he's going, wait, no, it's not. I
Right.
remember very differently.
Yeah.
And so then he would get on, forums online or message boards and Reddit and all that stuff and find other people who were saying the same thing he did. And so that started sort of cracking the facade for him. And for
Yeah.
me, it was less of the history and more of just growing up in a very misogynistic experience as a woman.
right.
And my experiences with that. And then I had been assaulted at BYU, and the way the church handled it was
Wow.
not well. And it really
No.
kind of put a chink in my brain. And so then, all of that sort of snowballed. And so while he's finding out these, historical things going on, he's bringing them to me and saying, I found this out. I'm going, that kind of
Yeah.
adds up to how I felt as a teenager. And this
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. And we just sort of, as time went on, we just started taking a step back. And then in 2015, they called it the November policy. There was a policy leaked that the church was about to implement, that children of gay parents were not allowed to have basically soul-saving ordinances. The things that the church believe will literally get you to heaven: baptism, going to the temple, all that sort of thing, that if your parents were gay, you weren't allowed to have those unless you disavowed your parents publicly.
I feel like there's a big thing about like disowning, disavowing,
Yes.
like that's so scary.
Yeah, it's really gross. And there were a lot
Yeah.
of people like us. There was a huge outflux of members who said, whoa. That's not going to work for me. That
Yeah.
feels wrong. That feels gross. We're not doing that. And so there were a lot of people who left the church around we did the same time. But yeah, that was the last time we went to church. We just were like, yeah, no, nail in the coffin. We're out.
Yeah. And what made it no to religion in general, I'm an atheist, as opposed to no to Mormonism, I'm a Baptist,
Right.
or anything else?
We went to a few other churches after, and nothing felt right. Basically, I like to say my bullshit meter is already full. If the Mormon church told me my whole life that this is the one true gospel, and I believed it. And so if that's a lie, then what's to say the Baptists are also lying?
Right.
And why not the Lutherans, and why not the Catholics? And I can look at all of these other religions and see the same problems that Mormonism had in them as well. And so if, being misogynistic or, looking down on minorities or not reaching out to the community enough were problems for me in Mormonism, there's still going to be problems for me if I'm in any other institution. So after a while, and then on top of that, we just stopped going to church and nothing bad happened. In fact,
that's kind of the main thing. Yeah.
Better after. And so we suddenly had a lot more time with each other. Our kids were happier. Our relationship with one another, my husband and I, got stronger, because instead of making decisions based on what a gospel or a God or a church was telling us to do, we had to actually sit down and make those decisions together and think through them. And so I feel like, in the end, not going to church for the last 8 years has made me a better person. So I'm not gonna mess that up.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's interesting with Christianity. Some of the best people I know in my entire life are Christians and will always be Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people I trust the least in my life are Christians and will always be Christians. And some of the best people I've ever met are atheists.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a subgroup of people who claim to be atheists, but I think they just want to be bad people. And they think by denouncing that a God exists, that just means they can be bad people, which is frustrating. But then, so on the other side of the coin, you're a Christian. You seem like a pretty devout Christian. And so what has that been like in terms of evolving as a Christian? And have there ever been things about Christianity where you're like, that's not what I stand for, I want to change? Or is it difficult ever to be a Christian?
Oh my, is it ever difficult? Yes, it is. And it's the religion. I do want to be clear, for me, the religion aspect isn't one that I lean on. It's 100% the relationship that I have to a higher power, which I call God, which is more of a Christian, deity, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
But I'm kind of willy-nilly, you guys. Forgive me there are some people that would just be like, she's really not Christian. And I'm like, that's fine if you feel that way. I feel like this is working for me. I think that God works in so many different ways that even a Muslim God could be the God that I'm worshiping. And I just don't have that avenue that I'm not taking that avenue. I'm taking this one. You know what I mean? Or a witch God or whatever. I don't know, nature God. The moon God, whatever. I'm down for people believing what they want to believe. I'm choosing this path, and it's working for me right now, and I'm digging it. I'm not digging the part that I have issues with, as far as the churches, like the November policy she's talking about. Ours doesn't necessarily do that, but it's in the Bible, saying if your man lays with man, it's a problem. And I look at that and I'm like, I don't subscribe to that aspect at all. Lay with a man. If it's a man, go for it. And you're into it, please do. Consent is key. Go for it.
Right. Exactly.
I think that there are a lot of misogynistic things that do go on in a lot of Baptist. I can't say non-denominational isn't misogynistic, and I can't say we're doing it right, because my church won't allow certain people to serve in the children's ministry because their sexual orientation. And that to me is very offensive. And I hope to be on the other end of that, where I'm be like, this is okay because they're parents. They can do this. And ease them into that. That's my hope for the future. But I think that there's some beautiful things that have to do with my church that I love. And I'm I do see and hope and pray that things are changing. And that's something that we can, like, I think there's going to be a lot of people that will leave should it change. And that's something that my church is like, I don't know, we probably should just tiptoe around this so that we don't lose a huge congregation of people. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't run the church. But yeah, being Christian can be difficult because I do find myself sitting in a room with people and they assume I believe that, you know, a marriage is between a man and a woman. And I don't believe that.
Right.
I mean, it can be, but I think it can be also other things. So,
Right.
so that's hard. That is, me and my husband have found ourselves sitting in a restaurant in a group of our church members and hearing this and being like, oh my God.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
And then having to have a conversation with that person later one-on-one to be like, hey, that's super inappropriate. What if I had parents that were gay? Or what if my kids happen to be coming out to me soon and you said that in front of them? Or what if the person next to me who didn't say anything is their families? There's a family member here. You're like causing separation.
Right.
And so it's been I hate confrontation, but I love to like help people realize when they're being an asshole.
Right. There's a big difference between like, hey, you dummy, listen to me, and being like, hey, can you explain why you said that? And they can't really explain it. And you're like, so perhaps, you know.
I think they can explain it and their explanation is really bad.
Right. Right.
And
I
so
think their definition of an explanation and mine are way different.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, true. You're right. And so the thing that I've learned through this process of staying Christian is to not give them a chance to explain because I already know what they're going to say. I don't need to be told what the Bible says. I've been reading it. It's fine. And so for me, it's more of a, let me hit them on emotions.
Exactly.
Why are we here? Why are we here? We are here to create space for people to come to a place and feel safe so that they can have a relationship with God.
Right.
We're not here to tell them how to live their lives. God gets to do that. Not me, not my pastor, not the chick holding the sign saying, we're glad you're here. No, that's God.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that we're an avenue for them to find God, however that may look.
Absolutely.
For them. And so that's where I'm like, hey, it can cause, you know, somebody to feel some kind of way. Do you want to be, this is really funny. Do you want to be a tool for Satan to keep them from knowing God?
Yeah.
I'm going to make t-shirts that say I'm a tool for Satan.
You're not.
Just like,
you're not.
Yeah.
They are.
Well, and I remember when I was a kid and I was a Christian, my mom used to say, you know, don't go around telling people you're a Christian, go around acting in a way they want to be like and have them find out you're a Christian. But I feel like the same thing applies from one type of Christian to the next. I feel like, because part of me is like, oh, those sound like horrible people, get out of that church. And then the other part of me is like, but perhaps they could find value in seeing you're a Christian, you're a mom, you're devout, you're kind, you're somebody they want to hang out with. And I don't know about you, but when I was younger and anybody who I looked up to looked at me and was like, hey, what you did wasn't very nice, that would scar me for life.
Yeah, it makes you think twice. Like maybe I should be more considerate about how I bring things up because not everybody agrees with what I have to say.
She actually is doing that and it is working. We have, you know, a mutual friend who goes to church with her who serving in the youth group together. Aubrey basically brought up to her and said, there are kids here who will be non-binary, they will be gay, they will be trans, all kinds of different things. And what this says right here in this verse maybe doesn't work. And so we're just going to love them. And it took her a minute, but she suddenly was like, wait a second, that's right. Yeah. And so now she has somebody else in the church with her who's going, yep, nope, we're just going to love these kids. No,
we're not telling them they're sinning. We're loving them so much.
Yeah.
And what a difference that will make for them in the church and their experience growing up.
Right.
And they're going to remember the people that loved them through this. And my hope is that if they want to pursue a relationship with God, that in the Christian avenue, then go for it. And it's like, we helped with that. I don't want to be the one damaging anybody.
Absolutely. And I think if an atheist goes up to somebody like that and they're like, hey, that's mean, their first thought is going to be, well, you're an atheist. What do you know? Like, of course I want to be different than you. If I start thinking the same, like, but if a Christian that they look up to and they're friends with and their kids play with and their kids spend time with and is active in the church is like, the way that you're talking about people isn't the way I feel should properly represent us. And as a congregation, that person's going to be like, whoa, whoa, a nice person that I like just told me I'm being mean. Maybe I am being mean.
Yeah.
Much more effective than
Yeah.
like, well, you're an atheist. We don't have anything in common.
Exactly.
It's my superpower that I love using.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's look at this a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what has the response been to the podcast, either from family, from friends, from general audience? What's that been like?
I feel like there's been a lot of people on my end. My entire family is still Mormon. My husband's family, our in-laws, my parents, my sisters are all still very active Mormons.
Wow.
And so when I left the church, it was obviously very scary for them and very, there was a little bit of just stress in the relationship. And so the actual discussion of why I left didn't really get had. We didn't really talk about it. It was just like, well, this is happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it gave me a chance to share my reasoning and my background and things that maybe they weren't necessarily ready to have the conversation face to face, but they were able to listen to it on their own time and say, okay, I understand where she's coming from. And so that was actually super helpful for me.
Yeah. So they
with
listen
my
to the
family.
podcast?
Some of them, yeah. Some
That's
do.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Some are like, no, and that's okay. That's all right.
Yep.
And then the amount of people I grew up with in the Mormon church who have come out of the woodwork and been like, I had no idea that I wasn't the only one. I thought I was alone in thinking this way or feeling this way.
Right.
You left, I left. Oh my God. And so there's been a lot of that too, which has been really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And like to add to her thing, I don't know if you remember this, but there are people that were in your family that didn't know you were full-on atheist.
Yes, which I do not understand.
You're like,
But
I was
I
not
also-
secret about this.
I'm not a
wild.
very subtle person. I don't know.
It was
But I
wild.
also get people who still are like, did you leave the church? I'm like, I have a
Yeah.
nose ring. I have tattoos and piercings and like I'm addicted to coffee like crazy and like all these things that Mormons do not do. I'm wearing so many clothes now that you can see, but I usually have way less clothing than this. I do not look like a Mormon on purpose.
Yeah.
See,
And people still just
that's when you should say, no, I haven't left the church. Why?
yeah.
What-
Yeah.
What did somebody say? I've left the church. I'm devout. I
Who said that?
I
can't
started
believe
my
it.
own ward.
Yeah.
The hoodlums.
But yeah,
Everybody's welcome.
there's been a lot of people who just I think because I don't post about my religion very much on social media, just out of respect for my family members who are not believing the same way I am. They, that would maybe ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe people just looked at me and thought, she'll come back to the light soon. I'm not
Right.
coming back to the light, guys.
She's not.
Sorry.
It
It's
is
past-
what it is.
It's past that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny because on my end, the people that come to me, and I have an atheist co-host,
Mhm.
and they're like, maybe you can help her.
This is your chance.
Yeah.
This is the part where you're gonna get that big diamond on your crown in heaven.
Yeah.
He's gonna be the one.
You're racking up so many points.
I'm living this. Yeah. And
Here's
I'm
what I'll
like,
do. If before my deathbed, I'll tell everyone that I converted back so you can get the crown.
There you go.
okay, I don't think it works like that.
Ah,
I don't either. I don't know how. We'll find out.
we'll figure it out someday.
Anyways, but that's what's been funny to me. And then I've had to be like, I used to be the person that would be like, God can do whatever God wants to do. And I still feel the same. But I remember thinking, if I said no, which I say this, she's not going to become Christian. I can't fix this situation and turn her around. Not that the situation needs fixed.
Yeah.
But this is like how Christians think.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so they're coming to me and they're like, oh, you're going to be the one that can help her out. And I'm like, she'll need help.
You're like, this is not Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. She is not
Yeah.
needing to be risen from the
She's
dead.
good. She's
Right.
good. She's doing good. I'm not worried about her salvation. I think wherever I go, if like there's a good place to go, she's going to be there with me. Anyways, and so it's just like I remember thinking that sounds like I'm doubting God's ability. I just know Kathleen too well. It's just not happening.
No, it's not.
Not in this decade.
You're like, listen,
She's still too mad.
you're like, God is capable of many things, but I don't think he's had a conversation with Kathleen. I don't think
No, we
they've
haven't been
talked in a
talking.
minute. He needs to
haven't
talk
been
to
chatting.
her. Yeah.
He has not been picking up the phone. I haven't been calling. We are not on the same page.
That's
Right.
so funny because it's like I don't see it that way. But then like to hear other people talk like that, it's like, wait, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Anyways, so but another funny thing about like so I've been my back and forth is people thinking that she'll convert or that I shouldn't. I had a Southern Baptist grandma. She's like, you can't do this. You can't be friends with her.
You're gonna get turned.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, grandma. She seems pretty great. I feel like it'll be okay. And then I'll post on social media.
Yeah.
I get so much shit.
I was
I
really
whisper because my kids are in the house.
surprised. I was really surprised when we first started promoting the show and we're talking about this week with a cute little picture of us. And,
Yeah.
you know, I really expected the haters to come for me
Oh, I
as
was
the
ready.
atheist in a red state. You know, I really
Yeah.
expected it to be aimed at me. No one gives a crap.
No one
They
cares.
are
They're
only
like,
talking to Aubrey about how she is Christianing wrong.
Wow. Yeah. Cause I mean, like, technically, I guess you aren't turning your back on anybody by just being an atheist. You're just an atheist.
Yeah,
You know, you're
she's
foregone.
already
But,
gone.
but
Yeah.
you're like, you're salvageable though.
Yeah,
Aubrey still has
I'm-
salvageable. Is that a word?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe. Well, the way that they were coming for me is more of I was dangerous.
Yes.
I'm what's dangerous in the faith because
In this podcast, I'm not the danger. It's Aubrey,
Yeah.
making
which
space
is crazy.
for somebody that the church has rejected.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like has taught me in the past. Not I say this, but like I mean, you're not supposed to unevenly yoke yourself with other people. Iron sharpens iron, and you have to have these really good friends and that believe like you.
Mhm.
God forbid they don't.
Right.
You might
Right.
become corrupt.
Mhm.
And so it was a big issue that I knew I might come up against, but I was like, holy crap, whenever it was coming. It was
Yeah.
it was hilarious. It actually made me like feel a little like, oh, I'm doing something right.
Sassy. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's all these old
Yeah,
people. They're
it really is.
boomers. No one's a millennial or younger talking to us
No.
like on social media because they know millennials just don't. Well, I say this. Some millennials just don't care, and
They
they're
literally
like,
don't.
No.
We're not going to argue online.
No.
Well, and we're posting on Facebook, which a lot of millennials have just
Let it
given
go.
up.
They're
Yeah.
like, we're not going to argue.
Yeah.
But-
Gen Z doesn't even know it exists. They're like, where?
No.
Like what?
My oldest is Gen Z, my daughter, and she uses a 40-year-old Facebook mom like a deep insult, and it cuts deep. I feel it. She'll be like, yeah, that's like a total. Did you see that car? That's like a 40-year-old Facebook mom car. I'm like, rude. Oh my God.
Yeah. I had a Gen Z once get in my car. She asked me for a ride. She got in my car and she goes, oh, I've always wanted a mom mobile. And I looked
How
at her.
Dare you?
And I looked at her and I was like, Sis, you are literally driving your mom's car. What are you talking about? And she was like, oh, well, that's different. I was like,
Sure.
you're literally driving your mom's car. You have a mom mobile. Relax.
Yeah.
So have you heard anything much from the public who isn't directly related to you? Do you ever get messages from anybody talking about whether or not they agree or disagree or their thoughts on the podcast?
So we have had a gentleman message us in the recent past, and he wanted us to go over the book of Revelations.
Yeah.
And it was really
Like page by page go over. I was like,
and it's
no.
who wants
No,
to do
thank
that. But we
you.
did. We just went to a specific chapter.
Yeah.
Because have you read Revelations? It's a wild ride. There's a
have.
dragon.
It's terrible.
We're doomed.
I
All of us.
explained Revelations to my boyfriend and
Yeah.
he was like, stop lying. He's like, that's not real. And I was like, no, literally, this is,
worse.
he's like, that's not real. People don't believe
It's
that. And I'm
true.
like, yes, they do.
They
Yes,
do.
they
and
do.
It's
Crazy.
crazy.
It's crazy, Cam.
And
Yeah.
then as a believing Christian, I'm over here like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to hell for this. Okay, Jesus is not coming back, guys.
This is what I live for.
And my mom's like, y'all better get it right because Jesus is coming. And I'm like, no, he's not. That really is.
He's not. He's not.
I mean, he might, but I don't think it's because the Book of Revelation said he is. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, because the Book of Revelations is whack.
It does
It's-
a lot of things.
It's like an ayahuasca trip for somebody who was
Yeah.
having a bad day.
Yes,
And then like
it's crazy.
you grew up listening to this. Did you? Okay. Anyways, Revelations. It's a thing. I grew up listening to this and thinking it's real. I didn't
same.
I did not reject the idea until I want to say like 2022.
Yeah,
And I was
literally.
like, I read a book about it, and I'm like reading this book from this Bible scholar who's
Mhm.
telling me why this book is or why the Book of Revelations was written and what the basis of it is and why it's not true. And I literally was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what else? What else?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
And
I read an article about rapture anxiety
Yes.
and how it's like a true form of PTSD.
It's
People
crazy.
yeah,
It's
and
people's
like
lives.
yeah, and did
Mormons don't really do a lot of rapture. Like I've heard of it and we read Revelations and all that, but it wasn't like really hounded in. It was just sort of like, yeah, someday that's gonna happen. What? Don't worry about it.
you guys
Yeah.
didn't have to watch Left Behind at church camp?
Oh my
Oh no, we didn't do that.
She doesn't even know though. God.
She
is
doesn't
an
even know Kirk
awesome
Cameron.
God. Yeah, Kirk Cameron.
Oh, I
jeez.
know Kirk Cameron,
No, he's a mess.
but I know him for other reasons. But the 90s were his heyday.
But yeah, like
No, Mormons don't listen to like gospel music like that. It's all very old school, solemn and somber hymns, reverent.
very traditional.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so I never listened to
No, like the
like
mainstream.
Christian rock.
You never listened to Newsboys?
I don't know what that is.
I do, and this is so happy for me. Thank you for bringing up news.
Their
stories.
Thrive album lives in my head rent free. It does. It does.
Did you see God's Not Dead?
No, I haven't. I was afraid I
it's
wouldn't be able
so
to make
good.
it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Is it good? Is it actually good?
So good. I saw it as a like full on like head, like I'm all in Christian. Like, so I don't know if I watch it.
Is
today.
it good in
It's
like
so
the way we
cheesy.
all love Hallmark movies, or is it good in like
yeah,
okay, that's different. I like that.
'cause
Okay,
they're
that's good.
cheesy because they're
Yeah.
so cheesy.
Yeah, is it good like in the reason we all watched the new Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie? Because if it's that kind of good, then I'll watch it. Because it's like,
Yeah, I think that would
Yeah.
be comparable for sure.
okay,
But
good.
anyways,
Okay.
this guy was like, "Hey, y'all read the Book of Revelations. I want to hear what Kathleen has to say."
No, you don't.
And so we were reading.
The answer
it,
is no, you don't.
and
first of
then
all.
he comes back and he's like, "Y'all didn't read the right chapter," and we were like, "Okay." I can't read this anymore.
Sir,
So, but,
Unless you're a
like,
patron subscriber, then you don't get to
Yeah.
tell me I listened to the
Thank
wrong
you.
chapter.
but
Thank
also like I think I loved that he gave us the idea. So it's
Yeah.
just like a kind of a back and forth with this person that
Totally.
like it's good and it's also freaking annoying. But like only because like you could have asked us to read Matthew or something. Matthew's like the book with Jesus in it and like things that Jesus talked about. And then
Mhm.
Kathleen can be like, yeah, that's crazy. Like nothing can like I don't think this is in Matthew. The fish and loaves, like the multiplying fish.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I would love to talk about those books, but
Yeah.
you're talking Revelation. We read one chapter or one book chapter.
Chapter.
And I was like, "Bleh,
Yeah.
we're done with this."
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's one thing to read the fun parts that are interesting. It's another thing to uproot trauma. So
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
willing to do that for
Well,
free. Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And the book chapter that we read, it was talking about basically how damned she is.
Which
Yeah.
we already know.
I mean,
Come
same
But
though.
it was
Like,
pretty-
see you there.
It was
Yeah.
so ragged. It was
Yeah.
it was ugly.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I know a lot of Christians who aren't just on the basis of one line
Mhm.
or one sentence or word on this line we're all screwed.
Right. Right.
Nobody's able to do this. So
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the kind
Exactly.
of Christianity that I can't hang on to. I don't believe God works that way. I think there's a lot of fear mongering and there's a
Yes.
lot of like power trips and white man syndrome that's super deep in this. Like Jesus wasn't white. If Jesus was real, Jesus wasn't white. And my
Right.
grandma full on believes that. Dinosaurs were real.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Come on.
They were real.
The
Yes.
planet is really old and it is dying. Like,
Yes.
we're killing it. You guys gotta fix this.
Global
They're like, well,
warming.
Jesus will
is
come
real.
back. And I'm like, oh my God, we don't get another planet.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? If Jesus
Scary.
does come back, he's going to be very upset with how we trashed Earth. He's going to be real mad
Literally.
about it.
The plastic is unreal.
Yeah. He's going to be like, I came down to visit you guys and I have microplastics in my eyeballs. Like
Yeah.
like,
I was a whale and I got choked on plastic.
he's like, I've eaten more MSGs in the last
Yeah.
day than he's like, on the 7th day, we did not create MSG. I don't know who invented that, but that was
This
not
is a
of
problem.
the right.
It's one of the plagues sent down now is MSG and microplastics.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. That would be, honestly, I would prefer the locusts. Like,
Yeah,
truly.
I can take it.
truly.
I don't know,
It's not
guys.
true, I don't
Bugs.
Yeah.
Bugs and frogs. Oh,
I could do the frogs. I'm a Southern girl. I could do the
I
frogs.
love frogs, but in masses, like everywhere,
true.
like
The
you open the
smell.
door,
That's true.
tiny.
I did step on a frog with bare feet once. I never want to do that again. So you're right.
Nope.
Like that's, yeah, literally it was the worst thing of my life. I
No,
screamed.
no.
And they're noisy.
Yeah.
I can handle a normal amount, but in the masses, no.
You're like, no.
That sounds
no.
terrible.
So independently, in your own personal opinions, what do you think happens to us after we die? Where do you think we go? What do you think happens?
We laugh because this
We
is the
ask
final
this-
question we ask everybody.
Everybody on our
podcast.
show.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
funny.
It's
Yeah.
the main question that we love to ask people. So
Yep.
I love that you asked that.
You go first.
Oh, okay. So there's this whole like Christian belief in heaven and hell. I reject hell as a belief system. I don't believe that the God that I know and love thinks that people are gonna like send people to go burn forever.
Right.
That's crazy. Fire
Right.
doesn't work like that. Anyways,
First
so
of all, fire doesn't even work like that.
Read a book, guys. And not the Bible.
It's called science.
It's crazy. I wish there was a place for bad people to go, like people like Hitler's, like that style of things. I wish there was, but I do believe like there are places. I think I have a really like all over the place belief system. I believe we can come back to Earth
Mhm.
and do a redo.
Like reincarnation, kind of. Except,
Yes.
would you be yourself or would you be somebody else?
I think I don't know. I think that me and my soul people that have soul like connections, like Kathleen and I could decide to come back, and maybe we have, because she literally like, I don't know, there's something there. Whenever we start becoming friends, that's just like you're doing something for my soul.
Mhm.
Like maybe we known each other before. And then I want to believe that when me and my husband die, that we'll be in the same place and we'll like, let's go back together and find each other again. Cute,
It's
right?
adorable.
Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
I think that's possible. I think that we can decide to not come back and just live wherever in outer space and whatever. Maybe there's another planet, you know, with other things going on that we get to go to. I think we can just decide to just be matter. Like, I think our souls or whatever we are can go to be with God or come
Yeah.
back here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
be with our families until our families go to be in eternity, wherever that is. So
Can you imagine for a second a reality show where a husband and a wife die at the same time and you wait to see who picks who on the other side?
Oh
And,
my
like,
gosh.
Like the one hits the button and the other one doesn't. And they're just like, they just never see him again. They're like, what?
not this one.
That's actually one of the tenets of Mormonism is that if a man marries a woman and then she dies and he marries another woman, he's married to both women in heaven. It's really cool.
Same with Christianity.
Yeah, it's
like
gross.
you're married in heaven, and I'm like, what about these? You know, we're
Yeah,
married on earth until they died, and you can remarry. It's
I
gross.
have seen some Mormon divorces play out on
Oh, yeah,
Facebook
they're
where it's like,
so
but
dramatic.
even though he's gone, I know I'll see him when I'm his wife in heaven and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Girl,
sis,
love
he, like,
yourself.
well, one, love yourself. Two, if a man doesn't want you on earth, why would you want to find him in heaven? Like,
Yeah,
girl, get your
He
new
ain't it.
husband.
he
Yeah.
ain't it. He is
Yeah.
not it.
No thanks.
Yeah. And like it would come across way more unhinged if you didn't know like their entire church was backing them up in that statement.
Yes.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
Like
Yeah.
we read it and we're like, you sound like a stalker. And
Yeah.
everyone at their church who reads it is like, amen.
Yes,
Like,
that's right.
Keep the faith.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird.
Like you hold on for dear life, he'll come back to you. Ugh,
No thanks.
sick.
No.
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 thanks.
No. And then in like the atheist realm, Kathleen, like what do
Mhm.
you think happens to people after they die?
Nothing. I think when I die, that's it. Blips out. lights out, nothing at all. And it actually brings me, this blows everybody's mind every time we talk about this. It
Ugh.
makes me so happy.
I hate
It's
every
such
bit of
a
it.
feeling
It's
of
so
peace.
peaceful. Yes.
Yes.
The heck?
Okay. So
It sounds exhausting.
it
All
sounds
that
exhausting.
Stuff you just said sounds beautiful and
I
adorable,
love that
but
you
it
two are
sounds
connecting.
exhausting.
But yeah, so I figured out a way to articulate
Ugh.
this the other night. And
Okay.
Kathleen, I want to see if you agree
Okay.
with what I'm saying. So I was talking to a Christian that I had on my podcast, and he was like, what do you think happens after you die? And I was like, nothing. And he's like, what do you mean nothing? And I was like, literally nothing. Lights out, flip a switch, nothing. And he goes, well, I don't want to live in blackness forever. And I said, no,
No,
you're
you
still
don't.
fathoming
over.
consciousness.
There's no living.
Right. Like I was like, in your mind, you literally cannot fathom not existing. So even when you think of not existing, you're existing in
You're
the
existing.
dark. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're just existing. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in a black hole either, but that's not what happens. The only way that I can describe it is, and it used to kind of freak me out before this happened. Have you ever been under anesthesia?
Yes. It's like that.
You're out. Like,
Mhm.
because in the movies they make anesthesia seem like, oh,
Mhm.
and then it's
No,
blackness,
you're
and then
done.
you're like, they
There's
said
nothing.
count
You have
back
no
from
recollection.
100. I said
Yeah.
100, and then I woke up 6 hours later.
Yes.
And
Ha.
once I felt that true, utter, you are off, like switched off, you're unplugged, I was like, oh, that's really nice, actually.
Yeah.
Like, there's
It really is.
it really is. Like, there's no eternal
Okay.
either.
I don't have to, like, the idea of lasting for a million trillion infinity years, watching my great grandkids bone.
But
No,
it's-
thank you.
Oh.
This doesn't sound fun.
No,
Listen,
that
I don't-
sounds strange.
For
Look,
sure.
I don't
wanna
want to
do it.
see right. I don't want to see teenagers jerking on Mars. I don't
No,
like
not pleasant.
I
I would
don't.
rather not exist.
Okay,
There-
touche. But I
It's
also
like-
think like you can decide if you want to do that or not.
Yeah.
totally.
That's
Totally,
my
absolutely.
That's my hopes.
And I honestly hope you're actually right.
Yes.
Well, thank
I
you.
hope
It's a
you're
beautiful
right.
thought. It's a beautiful thought.
I would love to find out that I could do whatever I want until I'm done doing it, and then I can pull the plug. Like, that's to
Yeah.
me, that sounds awesome. Like, I know that sounds bad, but
I'm
like,
gonna pull the plug and get there, and they'll be like, "Here's your options." I'll be like, "Yank it, done."
yeah,
Bye.
yeah.
Bye.
You're like-
Wanna try to find another
No.
planet. I'm just
No,
kidding.
that
That sounds very Mormon.
I
So
want to take
that-
a nap. I want to be done. I don't want to do any of it.
So
Done.
What
like,
if it just feels great?
Ugh.
so here's the thing. I don't think anything can feel good for eternity. I just don't.
No.
I
That's
just
the
don't.
way I've said it before. Is think of your
Okay,
favorite
fair
meal.
enough.
If you eat your favorite meal every day,
But that's why we
it's
come
no
back to
longer your
Earth
favorite meal.
to deal with the bull crap that we're dealing with. And then go
Or
back
like-
to eternity or heaven or whatever
Yeah, but-
afterlife and be like, that was crazy.
Yeah, but this shit's like this shit's exhausting.
Well, not
Like,
only
I'm not saying I want to die, right?
no,
That's
I don't want to
extreme.
die. I love my life.
I want to live till I'm very old. I want to be a very eccentric, wild grandma, and I want to die, and I don't want to have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
And
You know
like,
what? I love you guys for having that idea. Like, I'm not mad about it. And I think the probability of it being true is very high.
yeah.
I do.
We'll find
Yeah.
out.
Well,
Because
and
mine is not proven.
I mean, neither is ours though.
That's true.
I feel like true, maybe so. I don't know. Regardless, it is what it is. What can we do?
I just love like the sociopathy. But when
Uh-huh.
she said lights out, I was like,
Yay!
yes, like eternal nothingness. We're deceased. And you're just like,
That's
what
it.
is going on?
My
I-
ego is way too big. I want to continue on. I don't want to see like any
You
kind of
will,
craziness.
even if you
on
die
Mars.
and flip out and there's nothing, your
I'll be
existence
fine.
continues on in the memories of those who loved you.
Sure, that's
in your
so
legacy
cute.
of
So
of
cute.
being a good person. People remember you as being
Yeah.
a great person.
Too
Yeah,
bad. I
that's
would come back and be like, let's scan and be even cooler. Or
Now, I-
you know,
I do really want to haunt people.
Oh,
I really wanna
okay, I
haunt
would
people.
actually, I would. Oh,
Like,
that'd be so
That like I hope if it is truly lights out at the end, there's at least an option where I can just like hang out on Earth for a minute and just mess with people.
Okay,
That's
I
scary.
will rewrite my answer from here on out to Aubrey's that I can choose, and I choose to be the worst, most annoying ghost in the world
Listen.
until I finish it. Yeah.
The number of carts that would get rammed into cars when the person didn't put them back,
Yes.
primo. Like I would be like a social justice ghost. Like
Oh, that's cute.
like
I
if you're
love it.
racist, you're getting
Oh.
milk poured on your sheets tonight while you're in
Oh
them,
my
you know.
God,
Or
like-
when you like take your
Beautiful.
groceries out of the car and the milk somehow screws and falls
Right.
in the
Yeah.
car and
Right.
speaks for eternity.
I love
If
it.
you're like an abuser, every time you go to get anything out of your fridge, the lid's going to be loose.
Yeah.
Like all
Yeah.
your beers are going to be pre-shaken. Like that's just like yeah, like I'm going to make your life like mildly inconvenient
Yes,
You're gonna do,
forever.
like,
Every left shoe is slightly too small, no matter what size it is.
like
Yep.
what are the limits here as to
man.
what we will be able to do haunting wise?
Oh, so beautiful.
I'm like,
beautiful.
what kind of
Just
medical issues can we give them? Like urinary tract infections,
all the time,
kidney stones.
All the
you know
time.
what I
Right,
mean?
right.
non-stop,
ED.
all the time.
I would never kill
don't
anyone
work no
because I
more.
wouldn't want them to get the option to haunt
No.
somebody.
Yeah.
No, but like suffer a little, but live through it.
Oh yeah.
I would-
Die because of something else.
Like your eyeshadow palette's broken.
all the
broken.
time.
oh,
like-
that's me.
Oh, it's
Your
beautiful.
Amazon packages, you're never going to see them. They're going to be
Oh,
gone.
God.
And your camera's not even going to pick up me taking
No.
them out. Like,
Yeah. Amazing.
yep.
Amazing.
Close
All right, I rewrite my answer. That's it.
like
Genius.
what do I think versus what do I want? I think
Yes.
nothing lights out. I want to
Yes.
be a ghost.
Yes.
I want,
Oh, that'd
Like-
be so fun.
if that's an
so
option, I will join whatever religion I have to join
Yeah.
in order to be a ghost
Yeah.
after my time.
Yeah, that sounds great.
As long as I don't
Wow.
have to be a ghost with the same like ailments that I had in life.
Like,
Oh,
I don't want to be a
yeah.
ghost that has to pee every hour. I just don't. Like I'd rather
A
just
ghost with
bladder.
scoliosis. Could
Literally.
you imagine?
like I want my ghost self to have both kidneys work. I don't want like this one
you.
kidney ghost. That's
Yeah.
not what I want. That's not what I want. I want my ghost self to not have to draw on their eyebrows. Like I want to wake up
Yeah.
as a ghost with eyebrows
Yeah.
on. Like
Oh,
bare minimum.
gorgeous.
y'all are funny. I'm loving it.
Oh,
there's
man.
like a spin-off called The Atheist and the Atheist, and all we do is talk about being
just
ghosts.
talking about ghosts.
Just the
That is
ghost
actually
podcast.
my bucket list. Is one of the items on my bucket list is to see a ghost because I desperately want to so bad, and I
Yeah.
can't. I don't think they're real, but there's so many stories of ghosts that are real. So surely somewhere there's something. I don't know how to
Right.
explain it, but I desperately want to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, like I am not like I don't not believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not a skeptic in that way. Like
Mhm.
I just haven't seen what I need to see in order to be like, I've
Yeah.
seen a ghost, you know?
No.
I don't want to see a ghost.
I feel like the neighbors I've had in every apartment building thought they saw a ghost. They're like, there was this really tired, redheaded Victorian child,
very pale. There's a lot of pale. Yeah, the
Man.
pale thing I understand.
bags under her eyes. Like she must have really suffered before she died, like scarlet fever or something.
Oh, wow.
I love
Oh
it.
my gosh, we should tell you about the psychic we saw that
Oh,
told
Lord.
us about our past lives.
It
And
was-
he was so brutal to
He
her.
did not like
He
me.
did her so dirty. He's
What
like, he's like a
happened?
harlot from
I was my past life, I was a South American sex worker who died of tuberculosis,
it was so
which is
Okay.
very exciting.
he just did her dirty. He didn't like her.
And my otherworldly name, which is in a tongue that
Say
we
it
could
quietly
not,
because there's
yes, the tone, it's in a tongue that we can't even understand, was like, which just means bitch.
we were like,
And I was like, oh,
Huh.
well,
he's not
Did
a
he-
real psychic.
Did he say it like,
No.
did he say it like with judgment, or did he say it like, I'm sorry to tell you?
no, he was just gonna
With-
call me a bitch.
with all the behind it,
Mhm.
like I literally like looked at her and was like, do you want to continue
But she
on?
wrote down, we have like notes in front of us. She's like, should we leave? And I was like, oh no,
Are
we're,
you
we're gonna
okay?
see where
Like-
this goes. We're gonna see where this lands.
And so I had to have a conversation. This was before we recorded
Yeah.
with him. We have not dropped that one because
Yeah, no.
I don't want anyone to think he was legit.
He's not real.
Because I have a sister who passed away and
Yeah.
I was literally like,
We tricked him.
what's my sister doing right now? And he's like, she's disappointed in you.
he didn't know that she had
He was like,
passed.
why? He goes, because you're not using your psychic abilities. So I'm psychic.
Apparently she's a psychic.
And
It's
I'm
really
like,
cool.
cool, whatever. I don't see dead people, but whatever. Anyways, and so he's just going on and on about my sister being disappointed in me. I'm like, dude,
Jesus.
she's on the other side. Like, she ain't here. Like, is she where? I said, where is my sister or
Mhm.
something like that?
Yeah.
And she wasn't anywhere.
He
He
said-
said something stupid, and
Like-
I literally like my
like
heart
Michigan or
sunk.
something.
Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, my heart
Yeah.
sunk, and I was literally like, "You're
She's
you're
not
full
there.
of like crap," because I was like, I really wanted you to be real.
Well, what if you put out the episode with edited, like, this is the
We
part
are.
where I wanted him to think, like, this
Yeah.
is the part where he doesn't know that my sister's like deceased.
Yeah.
And then
That's
play the
what we
part.
were gonna do. We're gonna be like, listen to this joke.
like a clip show type of thing.
But
Yeah.
like the thing that I want, like, because I want to be brutal, be like, this guy was a total full of himself, white guy. Like, you thought his
He
boobs were
claimed-
big.
He claimed
And-
that all of humanity, past and present, had to go directly through him personally to get to heaven because he was
Like
more
there's
powerful
Jesus.
than Jesus.
It was
And as an
crazy.
atheist,
why
I
the
was
white
like,
guys always
wow.
thinking that? Yeah.
Come on, guys.
We were literally like, holy moly. And I think this was in the beginning of the podcast when I just really wanted a psychic, okay?
It would have been
Really
fun if it was
bad.
cool.
And
Well, I
was
have
like,
somebody who's a really cool tarot card reader. If you ever
Yeah,
want to talk
we
to
have-
her.
we have one of those. We have
Yeah.
a mystic that she did cards for us.
Yeah.
And that was freaking
Super
great.
fun.
It was awesome. Yeah. It was
Yes.
awesome. Notice though, we both said she. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Interesting.
No offense. No offense, anybody listening.
These
I
men.
just
Interesting.
I just feel like if anybody's gonna understand my mystic aura,
Mhm.
it's gonna be somebody who goes by she, her. That's
Yes.
it's just gonna be.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'll
Could be
take
wrong.
it.
If you're listening to this and you are a gentleman or you identify as he, him, and you think you can read my mystic aura, I would legitimately, I would love for you to write in and I would
Yeah.
love to give you a chance and I would treat you very fairly and I would love the experience.
And I
Um,
think there are she, him people out there that could. This was not the one. But
Yeah.
anyways, I think there are like magical beings out there that can figure this out. That guy
Yeah.
is stupid. And so I'm like, what we want to do is put out clips because it's hysterical. This
Oh, it's
stuff he
fantastic
says.
stuff.
And I'm like, but I don't want him to come back and be like, what the heck, and sue us. or
Oh, what's he
something.
gonna do? What's he gonna do to us? What's he gonna do? Tell
How
us more about our past lives, how they were mean? I
How
don't know.
dare
What's he
you
gonna do?
show people what I said?
Right?
Well, he
Like-
talks to God and God taps on his forehead. But
Yes.
anyways, God might get me after I make
Okay.
fun of his kid.
I
You know,
mean,
religious trauma.
let us know. Let us
At
know.
this point, if anybody's gonna get got by God, it's probably gonna be me, and it hasn't happened yet. So I think
I
you're
don't
safe.
know. Or is it the Christian that's like doing so she shouldn't be?
We'll
I'm
find out, I
trying to
guess.
be a good human here. And
Part of
love
me-
my neighbor really well. But this
Right.
is-
Like part of me feels like he would look at us and be like, y'all are lost, but you, ma'am, we're
You are.
disappointed.
Yep.
if I'm wearing the hat that says Christian on it, I do have to uphold certain standards. So I
That's true.
and certain ones I don't. So it's like, which ones do I want to hold up? I got to pick every day.
God's like, look at her haircut. There's no way she's making
Yeah.
it. Like, there's just
Yeah.
no
No,
way.
dude, that's amazing.
I love
your
it.
haircut.
I love it. It's so cool.
good.
Thanks. Super versatile if you ever want
Yeah.
to do it.
I've thought about it, but I have a lumpy head, so I don't think I can pull it off.
Well, and the cool thing is if you part your hair on the other side, vanishes.
Yeah,
I was in a
yeah.
wedding like 2 weeks after I did it, gone.
No one
Like,
knows.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's
I
wild.
love it.
Love
Well, ladies, I don't want to take your whole evening, but I've loved talking to you and I wish I'd booked you for like 2 hours.
it.
But if you had a message independently, each one of you, if you had a message for anybody who is listening to this podcast and you wanted them to kind of take one thing away from today, what would it be?
I would say for me, that it at some point it doesn't matter what you believe and what you subscribe to, as long as you are being a good person, i.e., being kind to others and fair and honest and doing your best to make the world a better place, you're gonna be fine.
Mine would be, as a Christian, we have to be careful, and sometimes we have to do the work and look at what we're doing and make sure that we're not hurting people, because I feel like I'm sure you have a story about how you've been hurt by Christians, and my friend over here has. And my hope is that more Christians can hear stories like mine, where I'm doing the work, I'm looking and seeing how it can be really problematic, and taking the steps forward to continue on your faith and fixing the parts where you messed up. So that's my hope for people to take away, is like, let's look inwardly and see, is this really God, or was this something that was like a white man made? So
Absolutely. I really appreciate both of your points. And I think something I try to tell people is, like, a lot of people have a story where they were hurt by Christians. That doesn't mean every Christian hurt you. So as much as a lot of us like to point and say religion is the way I'm hurting, religious people is the reason I'm hurting, I don't want to then turn around and hurt somebody who is religious because of this thing that they had nothing to do with. And vice versa. If somebody has ever met a mean atheist or a militant, atheist, or I would hope that the same way that they believe that, the Bible preaches you should treat everyone with love and kindness, they would extend that same love and kindness to people who are not religious, and not in a way like, I'm going to be nice to you until you come to my church, or I'm going to be nice to you to make you a Christian. Just everybody should treat everybody with that. Exactly. But I have really enjoyed talking to you. I'm already like trying to think of like reasons to have you back on the podcast, like things to talk about. Where can we find you if somebody wanted to find your content or listen to your podcast, or any websites you have?
So the podcast is on all the major streaming podcast platforms. We have episodes coming up that, with me talking about doing the work, I've done the work and we've recorded. And the episodes that are coming out are it's called Book Club, and we have a Christian-like woman, and then a Christian who left the faith, and then an atheist that we recorded on their books. And they're mind-blowing. And they so we have a lot of episodes that you can hear our stories, you can hear other people's stories about Christians who are still Christians who are no longer, I guess they're not Christian, agnostic, atheist, all the things.
We run the gamut. Anybody that you can think of, we love talking to people and hearing their journeys.
It's a good time. And you also get to hear fun stuff about Kathleen and I, the things we do in our like daily lives, but not necessarily, it's not daily, but it's like, you get an update on how we are doing. You hear me freaking out, being like, oh my God, am I atheist?
Well, and I loved you I listened to your episode that it was like a re-upload of an older episode where you guys, and you were like, listen. Like every time like a question came up, you had like this big disclaimer. You were like, listen. It was great. And like now that I've met you guys, it's like even funnier.
That was silly.
It was fun.
So I change every day. You never know who you're gonna get. We're constantly evolving as people. So you have to come along with the ride. So that's what's fun.
But we're found anywhere you find podcasts, the Christian and the Atheist. That's it.
Yeah, Christian and Atheist podcast is the name. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending your evening with me. Thank you for telling me your stories and letting me ask some questions and get to know you. Anybody who's listening to Growing Up Fundy, their podcast was recommended to me as somebody who apparently listens to my own podcast too much. So if you like this podcast, you'll really like The Christian and the Atheist. They have some really insightful subjects. They have a lot of fun stuff. Very, as you can tell, very friendly, welcoming people. So ladies, thank you so much for your evening. I hope you have a wonderful 2023, and I will link everything you just mentioned in the show notes of this episode so people can directly find them.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Awesome. No problem. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.